Yo everybody, what's up? It's Ansel again and welcome back. Today we'll be taking a look at the Neo80 and I really think you gotta keep your eyes on it. In regards to all of the other entry-level keyboards and its competitors, this just might be the top dog, even when you consider something like TK80 or LumenKey is on the table. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that those are gonna be amazing. This just might edge it out based on what I'm seeing right now, but I can't say for sure, so that judgment will have to wait. But anyways, that's besides the point. Let's get right into why I love this keyboard so much. So first, let's talk about build quality, construction, design, and the overall build process for making this keyboard. So design-wise, I love it. It's beautiful, it's minimalistic, and it's clean. These side curves are elegant, but they're not overly complicated. The logo on the top case is great and it's perfectly minimal. It's not too much and it doesn't detract away from the overall design. The bottom weight is badgeless or engraveless. Is that a word? Engraveless? But anyways, it's very simple, and normally I harp on other companies for their weights not being enough. I think the overall like super simple bottom weight look is kind of growing on me, so I like it here a lot. It just looks good, and I think the overall aesthetic and design language of this keyboard is really dialed in. Neo did a great job with this board, or QK, well, it's a collaboration. But anyways, it's really honed in and I'm absolutely in love with the overall design here. Now, quality and construction wise, the fit and finish are fantastic, no real flaws, and the anodization is one of the best I've ever had, regardless of the price. It's super smooth, I have no streaking or weird imperfections. It really does compare to keyboards that are 2 to 3 to even 4 times its price, so I think that's super impressive, and that alone has really made me consider adding this to my daily driver rotation. So hats off to Neo and QK, you did a great job here. Finally, this build process is seamless and it's beautiful. There are no screws, and while I don't think that's a requirement in my boards, it is a nice plus for a board that is supposed to be beginner friendly and an entry-level keyboard, something that you're supposed to experiment with and build often. There are also no wires because it uses magnets for the connection of the daughter board to the PCB, and this magnetic ball latch system is also flawless. Overall, I think this board is just fantastic in the aesthetics, quality, design, and overall build process department. It is exactly what the Neo line is going for, and I think it's exactly what beginners need for their very first keyboard. So hats off to Neo and QK once again. Next, let's talk about typing experience, and pretty simple here. It's pretty soft, pretty plush, relatively bouncy, and it's well controlled as well. It doesn't overdo it in any department. Of course, there are different mounting styles, and which mounting style you use is going to depend on how hard or stiff this board is going to be. If you're looking for something super stiff, then honestly this board won't be up your alley. But I don't think that it should exclude you from thinking about getting this board, because it still gets pretty stiff, just not super stiff like the old drop keyboards. That being said, typing experience is relatively nice and I don't think anyone should be averse towards it. And finally, let's talk about the sound. This thing sounds incredible regardless of what mounting style you have it in. You have 4 different mounting styles, and as you go from flexiest or bounciest to the most stiff mounting style, you start to notice that it gains a little bit of body and fullness between each mount. This effect is very subtle and it's much more noticeable in person, but honestly, it's something that you should keep in mind. But regardless, it's still very subtle, so if you do prefer the softer mounts, don't feel like you're missing out on anything. It's totally fine and it will still sound amazing with or without foams, and regardless of what plate you choose. The sound profile itself is very chirpy, crisp, clean, and higher pitched. Although I will say it doesn't sound quite as lively as some of my nicer keyboards, but honestly that's a very small nitpick, and you can kind of change that depending on how you build it, like with whatever switches you want to use or whatever plate you want to use. I only have the PC plate and the aluminum plate, and overall this is like a very small nitpick considering the price range of this keyboard. It still sounds very good in the way that I've built it, and I think you guys are gonna love it too. Okay, so let's talk about this board as value overall. and I think the value that this board proposes is incredible. The quality is really, really good. It's super easy to use, build, and it's perfect for beginners. It sounds really good and it's great to type on. This is a good keyboard. And even though it's gonna cost a little bit more to get it more beginner friendly, because again, you want hot swap and you are gonna wanna play if you're a beginner, because without those things, it becomes much less beginner friendly. You can still make it sub 200. However, it's gonna be very, very difficult to get it there, and you're gonna have to get really cheap keycaps and really cheap switches. Nothing wrong with that, but this keyboard really does shine with higher end components. Regardless, this just edges it just outside of the budget range, unfortunately, but if you can stretch just that tiny bit of extra cash, this keyboard is fantastic. Like seriously, I highly, highly recommend it. And unless your preferences don't align with this keyboard, then I honestly don't see a reason why you shouldn't strongly consider it over the competition. Again, I have yet to look at what TKD has to offer, and I'm very excited for what they have to offer, but honestly, this keyboard is gonna be great. And the sales format is really, really great. I think you're gonna be able to get your hands on this. I'll put the details up here, but I don't see it being a problem for people to get it if they want it. They might have to wait a little longer, but I think it's totally fine. And yes, it's a bit more pricey than some people would like, but considering how much keyboard you're getting for the price, it's kind of unbeatable. This keyboard is exactly what Neo is trying to do, and while I think it could have been just a tiny bit cheaper, I'm not exactly mad at the price. I think it's fantastic. I would buy it for that price if that means anything to you guys. But yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend it. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to CJ. He saw my previous Lumen Key video. He saw that I was wearing one of his XG shirts, and I love XG. And he reached out, told me how much of an honor it was for me to be wearing his merch. And so he sent me this hoodie for free. I absolutely love it. Check it out. It's Juria. I don't even know the names of the people in XG, honestly, that well. I've also like washed it a million times, so that's why it's kind of faded. I've gotten a lot of stains on it, so my bad. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, for tuning in, for checking the thing out. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I've got some more stuff coming up. I know this was a tiny bit rushed, but the holiday season really got to me and I've been super busy lately. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, for giving me your time, guys. I really hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you next time. Peace.